Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And I just wanted to let you know that this is video 1 of 2 for the day. If you are also looking for a review of the new card that's coming out today, Diamondback, that's coming up as the second deck of the day. But our first deck is too cool to wait to get to. This is our friend Shongenjoy's Craziest Surfer. And you're looking at this, if you're like me, and going, what the hell is the point? Well, the point is you get like 30 to 35 powers worth of brood. With this list, you get ridiculously huge shaws that can go anywhere on the board, and that alone makes this list an absolute cube thief. You can find our friend Shongenjoy at twitter.com/Shongenjoy. This deck needs Madam Web, Galacta, Shaw, and Symbiote Spider-Man, which is, again, I say this whenever this comes up, but 3 of the needed cards here are former Season Pass cards. If you buy the Season Pass, you are ridiculously ahead of the curve, obviously, if you could afford it. Madam Web is that other card. She will be in spotlights this coming April. If you don't have Aranya, you could run Iron Fist. Aranya is significantly better, but Iron Fist is still a very good card here. Makari and Copycat can be Negasonic, Juggernaut, Mobius, and Luke Cage. Right now, Shongenjoy has taken Copycat out for Mobius as he started to face a lot of scar and discard. As later today, as Diamondback comes out, Luke Cage might make better sense as people will be trying out that new card and countering it seems important. Fastos is very, very good here, but can be Hope Summers. In this particular list, Fastos is significantly better, though. Generally speaking, they're both relatively close, but uh, you really want that extra, like to just be able to drop Fastos and forget it. Worrying about lane stuff with Hope sort of gets in your way of Aranya and Madam Web stuff instead. Rocket and Groot can be Nocturne, or I'm curious to try Vulture if you don't have it, because you just throw Vulture on a Madam Web and all of a sudden you end up with a 9-power card. That seems like it's probably pretty good here, right? So this deck is unfreaking believably cool. Turn 1, you want Aranya. Turn 2, you want Madam Web. And you can fairly often snap a Madam Web, although be careful of Red Guardian. Red Guardian will really mess you up here. I am not sure what your meta is as opposed to mine. But Red Guardian is on a slight downturn right now. Red Guardian was everywhere forever. It was like in over 70% of my games, but it's being played less, so I'm feeling more and more confident in my Madam Webs. You can also drop Forge here. At that point, you want Brood on Madam Web, or after Forge, you can play Brood. You can also go, if you want to play Brood this turn, you can trigger Aranya if you played it, and then use Brood. You will then have 2 Broodlings in one lane, and then a Brood sitting alone in the second lane. That is the goal. You want the main Brood alone in a lane. We'll get to why momentarily. You can also just feel free to drop Fastos here. Sometimes you're going to do Fastos over any of that other stuff. Depends what you think your opponent's playing. You could also play Rock and Groot or Copycat just fine. Turn 4, Galacta, and Galacta is often a snap condition. You can also play Symbiote Spider-Man. The second opponent sees Symbiote Spider-Man, they're very likely, if they're well-versed in the game, going to start thinking that you're running Galactus. That's the trick. They're going to play to go over Galactus, and you're going to do things that are far bigger and far scarier in that place, or far smaller and far more disruptive. And that's better than your regular turn 3 plays. Turn 5, you want Symbiote, or you can play Madam Web or Forge with Brood. This is a perfectly fine turn to go Forge into Brood. If you went Galacta, you can go Galacta into Brood and then push that to another location. Anything along those lines is fine. You can also play a Big Shaw here. Big Shaw or Brood on Madam Web is your goal. Brood is better as a role, but if you can get Shaw there, being able to move the massive power that is Shaw is very, very strong. Turn 6, you want to move Brood to the Symbiote lane, and then you trigger the Symbiote. That's going to make 9 power Broods. 9 times 3 is 27, which you can give an extra 6 power with a Surfer, which is a, what is it? 27 plus 6, I should know this, right? 33 power lane. That 33 power lane beats almost everything in Marvel Snap, right? You'll lose to like giant negative stuff and the occasional crazy null, but you're generally likely to win that lane at that point. You can also, if you just played a standard old, if you didn't get that combo off right, you can also end up just playing a Brood or a Shaw and Surfering, and then you can trigger that Symbiote on the Surfer, getting a double Surfer trigger and allowing you to go over the top that way. Really, really, really cool, powerful plays that I think are absolutely amazing. I love this deck. If you'd like to see me trying this deck, check the VOD that is on this very YouTube channel of my stream last night. So make sure you check that out if you want to see this deck in action. I think that this is an absolute blast and incredible. Props to Shongenjoy for this great, great idea. This sort of takes the deck I hit Infinite with, the But Galactus Surfer list, and says, well, we don't actually need Galactus. People are going to play around Galactus, and if people are busy playing around Galactus, you can just win by going all in on the Surfer strategy. Brilliant idea, fantastic deck. Give it some play. You will find out the same. We're going to talk very soon about our new card Diamondback, but first I'm going to ask you hit that sub button. Bottom right of the screen is where you sub if you are interested in doing so. Later today at Daily Reset, as the new mode comes out, we have over 10 decks from the top players in Marvel Snap for that new mode. If you want the best decks in the game, this is the channel for you. Hit that sub button by pressing that little YouTube looking button in the bottom right. We bring you 7 days a week of videos with at least 3 brand new decks every single day. And we give away a Sam Wilson Captain America every week. This is our last Sam Wilson. Next week, we're going to be giving away 5 copies of Agamotto. All you have to do is sub and like, then later this video, hit the comment when I ask you what a question to specifically comment on. So if you'd like Sam Wilson this week, sub, like, and then later this video, make a comment. Every video is a chance to win. While next week, we're giving away, again, 5 copies of Agamotto. All right, Diamondback is the spotlight card this week. She is a 3/3. This is a Series 5 card. Ongoing. Enemy cards here afflicted with negative power have an additional -2 power. So, as long as your opponent has anything with negative power there, she's playing as a 3/5, assuming they don't have Luke Cage, obviously. They wouldn't have anything with negative power if Luke Cage is there, right? If you've got 2 cards, she's playing as a 3/7, so on and so forth. This is extremely, extremely strong because this only affects enemy cards. So, like, let's say you end up with her in the same location as a Man-Thing, right? Man-Thing's going to give -2 to her, but then your opponent's cards that cost 3 or less will get -4. That's extremely strong. There's also cards that work really well with this that are one-shot afflictions. Things like Cassandra Nova, things like Scorpion. If those -1s become -3, -3 on a card is a crazy amount, right? -1 is often very powerful. -3 just seems insanely overpowered. I think Diamondback's going to be incredible. However, my caveat here is twofold. First, the first big caveat is this week she's going to look very bad. Everyone's going to be running Luke Cage. As soon as she's any good, Luke Cage is going to crawl out of the woodwork and be in a million decks. And you don't really want to be playing that game. It's probably better to just not especially use her this week. That said, we will test her. We will find ways to test her. And the way we do that on this channel is that we don't just review the card once. This is not the only time we're going to talk about Diamondback. I'm going to do a stream later today where I'm going to play a bunch of Diamondback and a bunch of the new mode, obviously. But I'm going to play a bunch of Diamondback, a bunch of the new Diamondback decks, and try and be able to give you an impression on tomorrow's video. In Thursday's video, I will have impressions from a bunch of the very best players in Marvel Snap. I'll ask them and report back to you on how they think Diamondback is. Friday, I combine that with the data for a weekend mission review. That is the soonest you should buy Diamondback unless you are flush with resources, because Friday is the day that weekend missions come up. Having Diamondback therefore gives you an extra few hundred tokens, which is not bad. At that point, at the end of the weekend, now people have to play it a ton for weekend missions. We get a real sample size on either Sunday or Monday's video. I will do a last chance review. So we want to make damn sure that you spend your resources, they're scarce in Marvel Snap, as wisely as possible. And thus we will review Diamondback 5 different times. I believe it's 5. So either 4 or 5 different times to make damn sure that if you spend your resources on this card, you have the most information to get the best cards possible. All right, Diamondback comes with 2 cards. First, let's just quickly talk about the Diamondback variant. I think it's reasonably cool. She looks like she's disappearing a little bit in the background of the other one, so I don't love it, but it's reasonably cool. I'm probably just gonna get the Chibi the next day, the Rian Chibi coming up the next day. Nimrod is one of the cards coming this week. It is Series 4, but next week on 3/4, there will be Series drops, and Nimrod will be a Series 3 card. This is a phenomenal variant, and Nimrod's a middling card. Because you can get it for free, you should absolutely, under no circumstances, be opening for Nimrod this week. Phoenix Force will remain a Series 4 card, and it's a good one, but not a great one, unless your name is Jet, the player who puts Phoenix Force in everything. Phoenix Force is not really meta. It's a fun deck, it's a good deck, but it's not great and not worth going out of your way to get, especially as a Series 4 card. The weakness of these 2 cards suggests to me that they think Diamondback is going to be very strong, but the weakness also means that you should wait to be sure Diamondback is very strong before opening. Let's get to our Diamondback deck now, and we, as we often do, get the #1 player in Marvel Snap to create his version of the best Diamondback deck. And here what we have is a Sarah Affliction deck. I thought we were going to end up going with Ajax, but Diamondback should be enough power so that you can win without running Ajax. You should be able to actually steal enough by being able to do things like double Hazmat, giving your opponent's cards -2 across the board while yours don't suffer. Plus all the other combinations of just powerful stuff should be enough to give you the win here. In order to make sure you see your cards, you are going to need Malekith for this build, though. And I know Malekith's not a card that everyone has, but Malekith keeps finding his home in more and more decks. You can find Sizer at twitch.tv/Sizer2654. This deck needs Malekith, Grandmaster, Diamondback, and Man-Thing, and the Grandmaster is here like doubling Hazmat is great, right? But your real goal here with Grandmaster is to double Malekith because you really want to see both Luke Cage, you want to see all three of Luke Cage, Diamondback, and Hazmat, and being able to hit Malekith twice all but guarantees your ability to do that, while being able to Malekith on turn 4 also makes you more likely to draw your Sarah. Man-Thing is the other key card here. Like, Man-Thing's what you're sort of doing to win a lane, and then you're trying to win another lane through all the combination of stuff. Red Guardian in this list can be Rogue. Red Guardian is your answer to opposing Luke Cage that they play out early. Be wary, though, a smart opponent will play that late, so you might not be able to pull that off. Gladiator can be Juggernaut. Gladiator is significantly better because you want those extra stats, but Juggernaut is fine. U.S. Agent can be Shadow King. They both serve similar roles. U.S. Agent is something you can play on too, and Shadow King is not, though, so that's worth knowing. And Iron Patriot and Sam Wilson can be Cable and Quake. Cable gives you an extra card. Iron Patriot gives you a better card probably than Cable, but they both give you an extra card. Sam Wilson protects your key cards from Red Guardian, which is very, very important. But Quake offers a way to just sort of steal victories and really mess with opponents. All right, so as again, always, we'd give you the very best player, the #1 player on the Infinite Leaderboard this season, last season, the season before, Sizer's #1 deck. Turn 1 pass, turn 2 Sam Wilson cap or Iron Patriot are better than US Agent. You're going to have to read the board to determine which. If your next play is just going to be Luke Cage, then you probably want to drop Sam Wilson. If your next play is going to be Gladiator, then you probably want to drop Iron Patriot. It's worth remembering, as always, that Iron Patriot can be a snap condition in this deck. There's no guarantee that Iron Patriot is a snap condition, but if you can Iron Patriot, preferably mid, because you want to save space for Malekith and Grandmaster, but if you can get Iron Patriot's card cheap and it's a really powerful card, that is a snap condition. Be wary not to overdo it, but you should be able to steal cubes that way. So turn 3 Gladiator over Luke behind the shield. Luke behind the shield so that you're not vulnerable to Red Guardian. There should be a fair amount of Rogue there too, and Rogue has a reasonable shot, 50-50, of hitting that shield as well. Turn 4, you want Malekith, and Malekith is fairly often a snap condition. Look at what's still in the deck. If you've got Cap and Iron Patriot, then Malekith is very often going to be a snap condition. You can also snap right after Malekith once you see what you get just fine. So, but that around there is often a snap. Man-Thing can also be a snap, but that is less likely. Man-Thing is also just a perfectly fine turn 4 play. You can also play Man-Thing on turn 4 if you already have Sarah, and then you can play Malekith for 3 along with, let's actually be exact. You can play Malekith on 6 along with Grandmaster, that is 4 energy, and then you could also still play either Diamondback or Luke Cage with them for just a crazy, crazy powerful last turn. Sarah on turn 5 is your snap condition. Obviously, if they don't have Mobius, if they have Mobius, this deck is going to fall apart. I expect most people to cut Mobius for the time being for Luke Cage, though, so be forewarned. Sarah can be Hazmat. Sarah is better than Hazmat and Grandmaster. And then turn 6, you want to go off Grandmaster on Malekith. If you need Hazmat or Luke, again, are the key plays here. And then you should be able to win because you're just playing so much powerful stuff. Opponents should have a very hard time beating you. This deck is really, really cool. I will again be playing this on stream, something like 6:30 p.m. Eastern tonight, if you're interested in checking that out. Hey, this is where I stream, twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. I stream on YouTube too, so if you want to just keep an eye on this YouTube, that's fine. But the Twitch side of thing not only has music, it has a bunch of giveaways. I can't do giveaways on YouTube, and every time I do any type of music on YouTube, it splits my how much I make on a video. So that's why we don't do that. But if you're interested in those things, check out the Twitch side at PulseGlazer. But hey, if you would rather watch here on YouTube, please feel free. Come join me and check out both the new mode and that awesome deck. And we're going to play a whole bunch of Diamondback stuff. All right, our season pass question, if you'd like to enter to win that season pass, is very simple. As of right now, are you planning to open this week? Your answer should probably be, fair warning, I'm going to wait and see how good this card is before I make any decisions, but you probably have some idea in your head. Are you planning on opening this week? Our next deck, no, we're not done. We're actually doing 4 decks today, as usual. So our next deck is from Toxic SoulKing. This is actually a bit of Toxic SoulKing and a bit of Abra. Our friend Abra helped Toxic SoulKing. Toxic SoulKing is a top 100 player every season, one of my favorite streamers and people in the game, and Abra is often a top tier player. He doesn't grind enough to stay near the top of the infinite leaderboard anymore, but he's absolutely excellent and very, very kind. You've probably seen him on various Marvel Snap streams if you partake in those. This is a very cool list. I Okay. Red Wing is very much not my style. I don't enjoy the card. I don't like the card. I don't plan on playing it very much. But if you got Red Wing and you want to play it, this is a great deck for you. For this list, oh, I didn't do our replacement for Red Guardian. The replacement for Red Guardian is, as always, going to be Rogue here. You can find Toxic Soul King at twitch.tv/Toxic Soul King TTV. Please go check out my friend. He is amazing. This deck needs War Machine, Red Wing, and Kate Bishop. If you don't have Red Wing, hey, don't worry about it. We got a cheaper deck for you right after this. Iron Patriot can be Cable. Ghost Spider and Nico can be Iron Fist or Aranya. Rolk can be Magneto, and Penny can be Madam Web. Penny being able to drop the spider on the Penny in order to get a 5 out is really great. But so is being able to drop the spider on Red Wing, and that's what it's here for. Madam Web offers enough similar stuff that you're fine. Toxic had a 70% win rate in the top 100 with this. Ignore the percent there, sorry. Turn 1, you want to pass. Turn 2, Iron Patriot. And again, Iron Patriot remains a snap condition in specific circumstances, as discussed in the previous deck. Over Penny, over Kate. Penny, by the way, is my pick for the most underrated card in the game. She is excellent, but just, they released like a million powerful 2s right after her. She'll find her home. Wait for it. Turn 3, Red Wing, if you have a mover. Over Nico and Maw for Iron Patriot, or Red Guardian if a key target. Turn 4, War Machine, and War Machine is your key card here to snap. Be wary, this is a very Enchantress-heavy meta. You should know what your opponent's playing. If you think they have Enchantress, please don't snap on that War Machine. You will be giving them extra cubes if they just Enchantress that and you get Infinite stuck in hand. You can also just play Red Wing with Ghost Spider here or with the Grapple Hour from Kate Bishop here in order to get an extra card. You can also, if you dropped Red Wing on turn 3, drop Spider on it on turn 4. Turn 5, you want War Machine over Arrow. That's a nice simple play. You can also, again, move Red Wing in the same manner as before. And turn 6 is just a very simple Infinite or Red Hulk. And then you should be able to pull out the victory if you manage to get all that stuff together. Ebony Maw is a little complicated to play here outside of War Machine. It's an extra card for you to play on turn 5 if you go War Machine on 4, because then you can go like Ghost Spider, Red Wing, and then still play Ebony Maw. Or you can end up playing it on turn 3 with Iron Patriot, and it's a reasonable play there. If you end up going Iron Patriot, you can do things like play a Nico with that Ebony Maw types thing in order to guarantee that play. If you'd like to see gameplay from all these decks and more, please check out the stream team. The Great Prashant should be streaming about 12 p.m. Eastern today with some of these decks. Next up, we have Unhelpful Yoda's Neg Kang. He created this negative Kang deck that I think is really, really cool. Mr. Negative deck that runs Kang that I think is really, really cool. You don't need Kang for it, but Kang offers you 2 really, really cool opportunities here for extra snaps, which means extra cubes, which means higher win rate and more cube equity. So I think it's a very, very cool idea to throw Kang in here. It's not like 1000% required, but it is really cool, and that's why we decided to feature it. Also, I assume, again, Luke will be taking over a lot of Mobius's meta share, and so negative is safer, and Rogue just seems really, really good right now to take out opposing Lukes. As your opponent tries to make your shit negative, you rogue it, and then you should be well ahead. All right, so you need Ravonna, Gort, and Sage for this. Kang can be Wong, Zola, or Cassandra Nova. That is relatively cheap here. The reason Sage can't really work out to be Wolfsbane here is because you're running Jane, and so you need a 0. You can try Cassandra Nova in that spot, but it's just so much worse. Just like so significantly worse. Kang offers, again, 2 distinct snapping possibilities we'll talk about. Turn 1, you pass. Turn 2, Ravonna or Psylocke. If you have negative, please snap on that Ravonna or Psylocke because you want them to stay for 2 so that you can then negative. Cool? If they're just going to Mobius you, well, that's what Rogue is for. So turn 3, negative. Again, you should have snapped the second you knew you had negative. Pretty please. Snap before you play. Psylocke can also be into a Snap Kang here. So if you have Psylocke on 3, right, like you just draw Psylocke, or you played Ravonna on 2, you can play Psylocke on 3, and then after Psylocke, you can snap on 4 and play Kang. If you just drew Kang, that would be an extra draw. If you didn't just draw Kang, though, what you do is your opponent thinks you're about to play negative, and most of the time, if they're good, they should be running at that point, right? If they're running at that point, guess what? You probably you just got a free cube without having negative. Beautiful, right? You can also play magic here just fine if you don't have that play. Turn 4, negative against snap. Kang again, snap. We talked about that for last turn. And then magic. Turn 5, once again, snap Kang, especially if you played magic already, because now you can still play negative into Jane and your opponent has to respect that. So you can snap Kang, and again, they should probably be running if they realize what you are. They stay, great. Then you just run and you didn't lose anything, right? And that's better than Jane, even if you have that negative, now you can go Jane, and then turn 6 you go off. And if you have 7 turns, you play Jane on turn 6, and then on turn 7 you go off. And you basically always win because Mr. Negative is completely stupid in exactly that way, where it drops absurd amounts of power at the end of the game. The main play order for the end of the game, by the way, is often Gore into Mystique into Taskmaster. You can also go Gore into Taskmaster, into Iron Man into Mystique as the case warrants. Pick and choose among those cards. If you don't get Gore for whatever reason, or things don't work out with Gore, you should be able to get a 10-ish power Sage, which is also a very good Taskmaster target. That's this list. It's awesome. I hope you give it a try. I think you'll really appreciate it. A 61% at high infinite negative list is all but unheard of, but Kang really, really does up the win rate of this if you're playing against good opponents. So go forth, conquer with Kang. Questions of the day. Our first is our weekly question from Caretix Lee, who asks what cards should have come in spotlights this week. Malekith, Ajax, US Agent, and Man Thing, I think, are the big 4. I think it would have been amazing if they just gave us 2 Series 4 cards like they were planning to, and they were US Agent and Man Thing. That would be extremely high value, and then everyone should open this week. That they never do this, or that they're actually doing this next month. They've rarely done this in the past, is very frustrating, but it's great to see them doing this going forward. I Am Frostman asks about the refresh in the shop on the Chinese version of the game. And for those of you who don't know, the variant shop in the Chinese version of the game has a free once daily refresh. And then you can refresh for like 50 gold more times if you're looking for specific variants. Obviously, this is incredible, and everyone wishes that that Second Dinner would implement this. It's worth noting that the Chinese server also had a $17,000 tournament. The person who wins number 1 on the infinite leaderboard gets thousands and thousands of dollars. There's a rented deck feature. I was going to do a whole big feature on this, but the majority of comments said that they would prefer I didn't, so I didn't bother because it would have taken a ton of research. But the Chinese version of the game has worse card acquisition, it seems, and better almost everything else, although the meta is in a less healthy place because they are way behind in cards, so they still have like original Broken Loki and cards like that. However, like if we could combine slightly better card acquisition for us with even like a fraction of their like tournament support and quality of life features, I think Marvel Snap would absolutely be singing right now, and this would be the top game in the world. So I cannot urge enough for Second Dinner to go about implementing that. Certain tier support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. I'm going to say thank you to a whole bunch of our friends. First, our patron of the month for the rest of February is Ocularis. We'll kick off our new patron of the month in March. Thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, It Regardless, LAB, Inc., I Am Frostman. Hey, we just saw your name. Hota Navarrete, Thinking Poker, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, and Ryan Wood, Caretix Lee, the King of Questions, Koi Ray, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Pyrofros, The Goat Seeker. What's up, Goatsy? Hallowed, Nightmare, Only Fox, Synth, my friend, Fat Nick, Dirty, Casual, Mr. Kerfuff, how you doing? Cables, hopefully home and resting. Ginger Prime, what's up, Ginge? Philip Rakovich, hey Ratko. Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, XOC and Skippy G, Rhyming Friends, Jessica Gamble, hey Jess, Slush Death, Mr. Slush Death if you're nasty, King of Bros, Bro, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, how you doing? Got a season pass coming, bud. KFC, Hoda, also Werewolf, happy belated, my friend. Luna Chris, Clam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Silman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Just Nate Martin, Jason B, Mr. Cricksterry, and Matt V. Real name town ends there with Ren Wrench, cool name. Corwin Chunk and Jim McHugh, Q Town, Yistow, Eighth, Sage, one big man, not two, just one. One big man, by the way, you got a message waiting for you on Discord, my friend. Milkman for reals, Cactus Jack, what's up, Cactus? BG, Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decisions Joe. Please check out the Snap Decisions podcast. Mod Supreme Models, Green Goblin, Unibot, Sup Uni, Flan56. He's going to change his number, but then he never did. The Fuzzy Dunlap, Spectrumix, Hoot, Absolute Shannon, who will be our patron of the month for the next month. Matty H, DJ, Mikey, Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Nick the Greek Geek, Zodrex, the King of Canada, Den Man, Falcon, Fop, Thor, Newman, Jonesy, Two Ties, the great Lauren Whatevs, the Pirate King Tucker, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. Don't forget to check back later. I'm telling you, you're not going to want to miss out. I got the biggest and best Sanctum breakdown you're going to find anywhere. Get ready for it. I'll see you at Daily Reset and then on stream tonight. Peace.